Hey guys, Mr. Wood back here. You can see my lips and my mustache. Back here for another short lesson. Just going to review balancing equations in chapter 6. And so I'm going to post this for the Monday after Thanksgiving so you guys can watch. And I really need you practicing stuff. What's going to be due after Thanksgiving is, I think it's problem. It's going to be. I'm going to work on this worksheet today. A couple of problems. I've got them on the board behind me. This is going to be due. Now, this is not going to be due the Monday after Thanksgiving, but I think I'll make it due to the Tuesday. The other handout that I'm going to have you guys do, I'm going to work a couple on this handout today, is this handout. And its problem, I'll have to look it up. I'll tell you definitely. I think it's number 14, 18, and 40. It's just like 3 problems in chapter 6. Okay, so man, I'm at home, as you can tell. I'm not at work, not at school right now, but I'm fine. I'm fine. I actually had the virus back in March, and so I've got antibodies. I've given my blood a couple times because I got the stuff to fight it. So I'm fine. I just am at home, and I wanted just to have a lesson for you guys on Monday. Just more practice on balancing. And I don't have a joke, so I'm thinking here, and I came up with 2, and you're going to go, these are stupid, but here they are. So joke number 1, you'll know this one. Why was 6 so scared of 7? Why was 6 so scared of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. I know you've heard that one before. Now, how about this one? If 2 is company and 3 is a crowd, what are 4 and 5? 9. And you go, those are terrible jokes. Okay, so let me just kind of review real quick what chapter 6 is truly a one-day chapter, and the plan is going to be, guys, that we are going to get through chapter 6, and we'll do this again. You'll have an assignment due, and you're just going to have a short quiz that I'll put on Canvas and I'll put on my website. And then that'll be turned in on Tuesday, and then boom, by Tuesday, just by, I'll say midnight on Tuesday. And then we're going in chapter 7. We're going to get through chapter 7. And then our final will be on 6 and 7 with some review. And I haven't figured it out exactly how we're going to do that. But real quick, I've talked about this. I'm not going to spend time now. But this is what this unit is on. And really, we're chapter 8, which we'll do after into 2021. After Christmas vacation, but we will, they're really chapter 6, 7, and 8 all go together. So it's on chemical reactions, chemical equations. So we've talked about all this. I just wanted a real quick review. The key thing in chapter 6 is balancing equations. And so in any chemical reaction, atoms are never created or destroyed. This is called the law of conservation of mass. So we've got to show in every reaction the total number of atoms remain constant. And that's the idea behind balancing equations. The rules, like I said, it's kind of like a puzzle. And I'm going to do a couple more examples for you here today. You got to have the same number of each type of atom on both sides of the equation. So you got to do an accounting. The rule, number 2, you can change the coefficients, the numbers in front, but you cannot change the subscripts, the lowercase numbers. I always do oxygen at the very end, hydrogen second from the end. And then my little hint, which is always dangerous because it kind of opens up a door. But if there's a lone element, you can use a half number only on a lone element. And I'm going to actually do one like that today. And once you've balanced it with a half number, then you're going to multiply all the coefficients by 2. Okay, so the problem, so I am on, and this is a front and back, and I've done some on the front, and I've done some on the back. So I'm actually going to start down here. I'm going to start on number 15. I'm going to do 15, 16, 17. I'll give you the answer for 18. And then I want to look at the other worksheet. So here is number 15. Okay, so my first thing I always do is accounting. So I'm going to do phosphorus, hydrogen, and oxygen. I'm going to do that on both sides. So what I'm doing here is accounting. So I'm going to count these up. And I always do oxygen at the end, hydrogen second from the end if they're present. Okay, so I have four phosphorus, I have 2 hydrogens, and I have 10 plus 1, 11 oxygens. Over here, I have 1 phosphorus, I have 3 hydrogens, I have 4 oxygens. Okay, so to balance this, So I need 4 phosphorus over here. Remember, what you cannot do is this. That's against the rules. Like a basketball coach, so if you grab the ball and you just run 10 feet without, or 10 steps without dribbling, it's against the rules. The referee, he or she will blow their whistle. They'll say traveling, other team's ball. You can't be going for a rebound and just take and shove somebody. That's a foul. Those are the rules. Well, those are the rules here. You can't put a 4 here. So you got to put a 4 here. And this 4, remember, distributes. And you multiply. So this makes me now have 4 phosphorus. But now, 4 times 3, you always multiply. So 12 hydrogens. And 4 times 4, 16 oxygens. Okay, so I balance phosphorus. Now, the hydrogen. So I have 12 here and 2 here. So if I put a 6 here, 6 times 2 is 12. So that balances the hydrogen. And then oxygen, that changed oxygen. So 10 plus 6 gave me 16. So I've got the same number of phosphorus on both sides, the same number of hydrogens, the same number of oxygens. So this is technically the answer. Okay, and if it's blank, it means 1. You don't have to write in a 1. Most people don't. But if you do, it's not wrong. Okay, so then number 16. So again, I got nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen. And again, I'm going to save oxygen and hydrogen till the end. So my accounting, I've got 1 nitrogen, I've got 3 hydrogens, I've got 2 oxygens. Okay, over here I've got 1 nitrogen, 2 hydrogens, and again 1 plus 1, 2 oxygens. Okay, so nitrogen is balanced. Now, whenever I have something like this, where I have an odd and an even number, I'm looking at hydrogen, I'm going to take that 2 and I'm going to put it over here. And I'll take that 3 and I'll put it over here. I'm going to cross them over. And by doing that, that gives me 6 N's, or I'm sorry, 6 H's. But you're going, wait, you've thrown N out of balance. And you're right. Now I have 2 N's, so 6 H's. Over here I got, let me go back and count. So I've got 6 H's, but I've changed the O. I have 1 plus 3, I have 4. Okay, so now I need to go back and rebalance the N. So I got to put a 2 there. Again, remember, I can't put a 2 there. So now I have 2 N's, but that changed the O's to 2 plus 3. So I have 2 O's here and 3 more there is 5. Okay, so this is where the half number. So I've got the N and the H balanced, but now for the oxygen, the half number, because right now I want to get, I've got 5 on this side. Well, if I put a 2 here, that 2 times 2 is 4. That won't balance O. And if I put a 3 here, 3 times 2 is 6. Again, that wouldn't do it. So I'm going to put 2.5. And that gives me 5. And it's balanced. But only do this in front of a lone element. Do not do it in front of something that has a compound like this or this or this. It will never work. But then don't leave it like that. So we're going to double all of these coefficients. So this is going to become 4. This is going to become 5, this is going to become 4, and this is going to become 6. Okay, so there is the balanced equation. And there's no doubt, these are like a puzzle that you truly just have to play with. Okay, let me do one more. So I've got carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So this is number 17. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. So I've got 7 carbons, I've got 6 hydrogens, and I got 2 plus 2. I have 4 oxygens. Over here, I've got 1 carbon, I have 2 hydrogens, and I have 2 plus 1, I have 3 oxygens. And the reason I always leave oxygen till the end is a lot of times it'll just fall into place if I do oxygen at the end, because they kind of spread out. Okay, so I need to get 7 carbons here. So I put a 7 there to get 7 carbons. But that's changed the oxygen. So 7 times 2 is 14, and 1 more makes 15. The carbon is taken care of. Okay, then hydrogens. So I'm going to need to put a 3 here. 3 times 2 is 6. But that again changes the oxygen. So I have 7 times 2 is 14, and 3 more makes 17. But I've got the carbon and I've got the hydrogen balance. Now the oxygen, it's going to be the same deal. I'm going to need a half number. I've got 2 here and 2 here. Well, if I don't want to change anything about C and H. So I need to get to 17. So I need this to attribute 15. Well, again, if I put 7 there, 7 times 2 is 14. 8 times 2 is 16. So I'm going to use 7.5. 7.5 times 2 is 15. and 2 more makes 17, and it's all balanced. But again, I don't want to leave the half numbers. So again, if there's 1 here, so I'm just double everything. So this is going to become 2. This is going to become 15. This is going to become 14. And this is going to become 6. And so there is the balanced equation for that. Okay, and there's no doubt that, and what I'm going to do on Tuesday, I'm not going to do it on Monday. I want you to practice more of these, but I'll take questions. And then I'll post again a quiz that will be, I think it's 7 questions or 8 questions. Of those, all but 1 are just like this. You're already given the equation. Okay, now I want to go to the other handout, which, to be honest with you, I think is a little bit more difficult. So now I'm looking at this handout. Now on that quiz, I'm only going to give you 1 like this handout. Okay, so I'm going to do again the bottom 2. So here, what we got to do is what you had to do back on the Chapter 5 test, which you're going to have to write out the chemical reaction for what is going on. Okay, so I'm going to do number 8. I'm going to do number 8 and number 7, okay, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, so number 8, so I've got hydrogen, and you got to remember hydrogen is one of those 7 elements that's diatomic. By itself, it's diatomic. Plus nitrogen monoxide. So here we go back and writing the correct formula. Yields. Yields means arrow. Water plus nitrogen. Well, nitrogen is, again, another one of those that is diatomic. So there's the equation. Okay, getting to there is a bit harder. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing I was doing. So I'm going to do my accounting. Now I'm going to balance this. I'm going to figure out what are the coefficients going to be. So I've got 1 N, I've got 2 H's, I've got 1 O. Here I've got 2 N's, 2 H's, and 1 O. 2 N's, 2 H's, and 1 O. Okay, so N, so I'm going to need to put a 2 there to balance the N's, but that changed the O's to 2. Okay, so the N's good, the H's are good, but the O's are not. So I need to put 2 here. Remember, this distributes, so that changes the O, it balances the O, but it's thrown H out of balance. So now now I've got the N and the O balanced, but I don't have the H, but if I put a 2 here, so I've got 2 N's, 4 H's, 2 O's. So there's my equation on number 8, again, on this worksheet. And again, I have this posted both on my website and on Canvas. Okay, let me do one more, last one, and then we will stop. Copper. Now, copper is not one of those diatomics. Plus sulfuric acid. So remember, atic itis. So sulfuric acid, H is a 1, sulfate is a 2. Remember how we wrote the formula, so we crisscross those over. So you can see how chemistry constantly builds on itself. Yields. Copper 2 sulfate, so that means copper is a 2. Sulfate is a 2, so remember they're the same numbers, they cancel out. Plus water, plus sulfur dioxide. Remember when they had prefixes, I like those better because I didn't have to look up the charges and cross them over. Okay, so there's the skeleton equation. Okay, so I've got copper, sulfur, hydrogen, oxygen. Remember, I always do oxygen at the end. Same thing here, copper, sulfur, hydrogen, oxygen. Okay, so I've got 1 copper, I've got 1 sulfur, the 4 goes to the O, I have 2 H's and I have 4 O's. 2 H's, 4 O's, 1 sulfur. Over here I've got 1 copper, I have 1 sulfur here and 1 here, note that. So I have 2 sulfurs, I have 2 hydrogens, and now look at oxygen. 4 plus 1 is 5 and 2 more is 7. Okay, so copper is balanced, sulfur is not. So I need to put a 2 here to get 2 sulfurs. But when I did that, that's changed the H. So now I have 4 H's and I have 8 oxygens. Okay, so then here I need 2 times 2. So I've got copper balanced, sulfur balanced. But when I put the 2 there to balance the hydrogens, now I've got 4 plus 2 plus 2. And so there it is. So I put a 2 in front of the sulfuric acid and 2 in front of water. Okay, that is a good place to stop. So you guys were on this weird schedule, and like I told think it was the B cohort. I mean, now's a time where you make excuses, and it's just this is a hard time for everybody. But I just challenge you to just be the best you can in these hard times and work hard um, through this and work on your chemistry. So, okay, guys, have a good rest of your day and work on some chemistry. Bye.